All right, afternoon, everybody. All right, so it's after 5:45, so we are going to begin. We're going to begin slowly to give the others a little bit of time to get here. What we're going to do today is that firstly, we're going to look at the questions that you should have worked on for your assignment. And hopefully by the time we're finished, you would have been okay with bank reconciliation statements so that we can move on to look at corrections. All right, so I don't know why I clicked on the wrong one. Which one did you find most challenging? None of them? None of them were really challenging.
The word
Okay. All right. What is one right here? A trick you?
Yeah.
Oh. I did?
Yeah. They gave us D, but in order to do D, we have to do A.
Oh, was that the one in the hand here?
Not really the one that
Oh, okay. I don't think that was deliberate. All right, so let's start with Mahabir, page 132. That's a nice one for 10 marks. I hope everybody actually did attempted it so that we can just make our corrections, right? That you're not just working from scratch. Or just seeing the book today for the first time since last week Tuesday, I hope not. Remember, we have to keep practicing. All right, in June, so this question has two parts, right? Question 2 in the exam it was, and I believe you had probably worked on number 2A before, that cash book question. All right. So it says that, I'm looking at the B part then. In June, Mahabir received his bank statement, which showed that he had an overdrawn balance of $7,225. His cash book showed an overdrawn balance of $2,000. All right, so cash book was overdrawn to $2,000. And his bank statement is showing a balance of $7,225, right? And this was also an overdrawn balance. Right? In checking his cash book with his bank statement, the following observations were made. Right, so you have 6 different observations that are there. It's for you to make sure that you go through all 6 of them, and that you decide what you're going to be doing with each. All right, so for the first one, it says that end of the month bank charge of $16 entered on the bank statement does not appear in the cash book. So right away we know that it's bank charges. And remember in the exam you have to mark up your question paper and write where you're gonna put the item. Right? So number 1, for instance, we know is gonna be in the updated cash book. Right? And it's gonna go to which side? the credit side of it. Right? Bank charges money is coming out of the, you're paying out some money. Right? So you know that once you're gonna pay out, it has to be credited in your cash book. Alright, the second one says check made payable to Matt Bean for $798 have been entered correctly in the bank statement, but entered in the cash book as $789. Now that's an error that has been made in the cash book, so it has to be corrected in the updated cash book.
You just say error. You say error.
Alright, so now for number 2, we're gonna be correcting an error in the cash book. Right? And you have to decide how you're gonna make that correction. Not a difficult thing to do. All you have to do, if you can't figure it out, get a rough work paper, make the error, and then do the correction. Alright? A check was paid out. Good, we are paid out a check to Matt Bean. So therefore it means that they should have credited. So if this was their bank account, they should have credited the bank account. How much should the check have been for? $798. Now they did credited, but they credited not with $798, but with $789. Right? So $798. Right. So it means that they actually entered a figure that was $9 short. Right? So therefore you have to pay out the remainder. Yeah? The only way you're gonna pay out the remainder is by crediting the cash book with the extra 9. Remember, you don't use the 789, you don't use the 798, it's just the difference that you're gonna be concerned with. Right? 789 is already taken out. You just need to take out the rest. And it makes sense that it's placed on the credit side in order to take out the difference. Because if you had put the difference of $9 over here, what you've paid out now is actually $780.
Yeah.
Yeah? So it can't be on the debit side, it has to be on the credit side. Right? The extra $9.
If it was over, if you pay more now,
right, they would have debited. Right. So for error number 2, you need to credit your updated cash book with $9. Alright, for number 3, it says that check received and entered in the cash book from Singh for $5,007 was returned by the bank stating words and figures do not agree, and right away you know that that's going to be a dishonored check. Right? Now if it's a dishonored check, it means that we have to put this into the updated cash book, right? And it's gonna be on the credit side of the updated cash book. Again, money is coming out of the account because previously when you collected this check, you had debited your bank account with the $5,007. That's the cash book I'm talking about, right? You had debited with the $5,007 because you think that this money was all and good. But if the bank is saying no, hey, we can't pay this check because something's wrong with it, then you have to pay it back out by crediting it. All right, for number 4, it says a deposit of $13,000 made to the bank account on March 28th did not appear on the bank statement. So if you made a deposit in the bank account, it did not appear on the bank statement, then it means that this is a late payment.
That goes to the
so it's gonna go on the bank recon. All right, and then number 5, check 22156 for 35 and 22158 for 2,000 had not been presented to the bank. You know those are going to become your unpresented checks, right? And those are for the bank recon as well. All right, what did the last one say?
Dividend of $8,000 directly to market bank account is shown on the bank statement, but not as being recorded in the cash book. Direct transfer.
Right, so you can call it a direct transfer, a credit transfer. In fact, if you choose to even call it dividends received, that's fine. But it's really a credit transfer because whoever you bought those shares from, whichever company you bought those shares from would have been paid you, right? And paid directly into your bank account. You have a credit transfer there. Means money is being paid to you. Therefore, your updated cash book, then it's gonna be on the debit side. That was the last one, right? Good. And so once you have worked out that, you know exactly where you're gonna put the different items. Then you just go ahead and you put them now into the two statements that are required of you. All right. So we're required to prepare the updated cash book. And we also have a bank reconciliation statement that we have to prepare as well. All right, remember now that before you enter any of these things in the updated cash book, that you have to start out with your cash book balance, right? In the information, the introduction, they did tell us that our cash book was overdrawn by 2,000, right? Overdrawn means that it's a credit balance. So therefore, the first thing that you should have is a balance brought forward of 2,000 on your credit side. You don't do anything with the 7225. You move down now and you put whatever belongs in your updated cash mechanics. So number one we said is a bank charges. How much money was that bank charges for?
$16.
$16. Number two was an error that we needed to correct.
$9.
$9. Yeah, you can write bank error. That's fine. And number three.
Credit as well.
So how much was this on a check for?
5,700.
5,700. Number 4 and number 5 belong to the bank recall. Number 6 was a credit transfer.
On the debit side.
And this was for how much money?
8,000.
8,000. And that's it. We balance out for a cash book. From the looks of it, even though we started out with our credit balance, it seems like we'll actually end up with a debit balance. Alright, so balance carried down. We're minusing from 8,000 to 275. Alright, and of course, we should have a balance brought down of 275 here. Did they tell us how we should do the bank reconciliation statement?
Prepare Marvin's bank reconciliation as
They didn't tell you which one to start with. So in this case, because you have the update, the bank statement balance, you have the updated cash flow balance, you can use whichever one you want. Right? So many persons prefer to use cash flow balance. Maybe because it's the first one you learned how to learn.
As per updated cash book.
So we have 275, and it's not an overdraft this time, so we just need it as a positive figure. We're going to add
unpresented checks, which is
3,500 and 3,500 and 2,000.
So that's 5,500.
5,500. All right, 5,500 plus 275 will be about 7,775.
5,775.
And
minus
rate arguments.
And
the late allotments were 13,000. So we're taking away 13,000 from 5,775. Leave us with 7,000.
Right, so the balance should come back to 7,775. Which is the overdraft. Which is the overdraft.
Right. The balance as per bank statement. Good, and as you say, you know that you're correct because when you check that 7225 with the balance that they gave you, then it should come back. Right, because it's an overdraft. So a minus figure. All right, so there you have your 10 marks. Are there any questions on that one?
When you bring that every, I got this stuff I have to exercise this kind of thing. We just want to say.
Well, that's not really significant. I mean, there's nothing that say we can't have more stuff on the debit side or on the credit side on the other. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's not uncommon for them to merge, for the exam to merge a bank recon question with a cash book question. In fact, it could have been asked to do the cash book, and that balance brought down that you have in the cash book becomes the balance brought forward here. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. You want that one from the activity booklet?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's 110, 110.
All right, let's see that one now. One, ten. Oh, okay. Starting with the closing bank balance in his cash book from A above. Good. So you went and you worked that cash book, right? Everybody worked on that one? So this was good practice for the cash book. Oh, I thought you had done this cash book before though. Maybe that's why I gave it to you. Yes, next one. I thought, oh, okay. Oh. I know you had to work something, sir. Here. And in this case, this cash book was the major part of this question. It valued 14 marks. But wasn't that difficult cash book, was it? It was quite simple. Alright, anybody still writing on the board? Well, I need the entire board. Alright, let's do this cash flow quickly. See how much of it you remember.
Let me see, the exam they are going to give us the sheets.
For the cash book? Yes. They will. Guys, remember you need to do your assignments as much as possible. Accounts is not something that you should take lightly. Without practicing, you will lose everything that you think you know. You are right.
Right?
Because I didn't know anything to do on the paper.
It's a really good day plan. It's a very sad thing. Yeah, when they still got you.
Listen, when somebody going to the exam and get that grade like that, means that they actually went into the exam and did nothing.
They will try to do
Not even to try. At least because it's so easy to even get a 3. Not that you should go into the exam for a 3.
You should page and then.
When we don't get that space.
Person probably never even go to class.
If I give it multiple times. Now just come out. If
If you don't go to class, you can't learn anything.
And then that paper she would have helped them.
How?
Very much you carry it.
Let me put no quick.
Very much you carry it. But I understand if you try out for the multiple times. They don't even know about that. You cannot get everything wrong. Maybe just go on to the exam.
That's actually going to the exam and writing nothing on the paper.
But if you go with a blank brain, what's the point of going in there?
Blank was on the train. I mean, I see you doing the exam like. But the benefit is that you would have very time pass. You don't have to do it.
Anyway.
So you have seen firsthand what not attending classes, not doing homework, not practicing can do.
You miss a step and you're like, I don't.
But the end of the last class, it seems like you understand.
So
And it's not just to miss the step, but it's to miss the step and not try to get the step that you miss. Not showing an interest to get the step that you miss.
I heard somebody say these words. Oh, isn't that what you're working on? Just some aspect of the accounting you want to give my entire bank. But I balance sheet, but it's not balance sheet work no don't want to. I don't say what it is, what it is. You're only happy by the capital for the what seems to be fantastic like to do on this.
So they were saying that overdrawn immediately. They over there, so that you say it. Yeah, and so that automatically becomes a balance. You know,
So I'm just doing the cash book with you for a review because what was the name of this person?
Khan.
Okay. You have to tell me what the transactions were now. On the first day of the month, which one was this?
Overdrawn balance.
An overdrawn balance. What date was it?
April 2.
March 1st, so April 1st.
April 2 is the problem.
110. I will be in the cash.
So we're working from the cash book, 109. Oh.
Overdrawn balance at bank for 700.
How much was the balance overdrawn?
$700.
And the cash
So
is
that's
balance.
300.
300.
And the cash, 300.
Alright, so remember cash can be overdrawn, right? Has to be debit. So there's a bank that can be overdrawn and they have to tell you so, otherwise debit. What else happened after March?
In March 2, cash sales amounted to 550.
So we have cash sales, so we go sell goods and we're collecting cash immediately, 550.
Paid to Ali by check amount owing of 700 less 5% cash discount.
What date is this?
The March 2.
2nd.
So we are paying M. Ali his account of 700 less 5%.
Discount.
So 5% of 700 is 35. So we are going to be paying Ali. Did you say by what?
Check.
By check.
By check.
And that's on the credit side, right?
Yes, so we are paying.
Okay.
What happened after that?
On March 2,
Paid
paid
some
for expenses of $120 by cash.
We'll pay now. So
So everything that we are paying has to be on the credit side.
Yeah.
Sundry expenses by what?
120.
By 120 by cash.
Okay.
And fees,
March
receive check for 1,008.
I'm getting money, need to go to the debit side.
1,008 from
Check for
Peaches. After he had deducted 3% cash discount. So he was in cash.
What date was this?
March 8. 8.
This
March
though
8.
is a half payment.
So you received from P. Shivers a check of?
1,800.
After he deducted 3%.
Okay.
Is it still 1
Okay.
The check is for 1A, but you have to find what the discount amount is now. So you gonna do that?
The discount amount, gonna add 3% to the 1,800.
To
So
the
that's
1,800.
54.
So that's 54.
You didn't find 3% of 1A, right?
No, add 3% to the 1,800.
Okay, so it's 103%. Go again.
The check was actually
1,800
made out
plus
of
3% of 1,800.
but that check was made out after he deducted 3% cash discount to which he was entitled.
Right.
So what I did was to add 3% to the 1,008 in order to get the discounted figure.
3%. How did you get that 54?
I find 3% of the 1,008 and then add it.
So you don't work it.
That's what I was asking. You found 3%
Yeah,
of
3%
1,800.
of 1,008, but instead of minus it, I added.
You did 1,800.
No, it would mean that
It can't be 3% of 1,800. It has to be 3% of a bigger figure. Because remember that when you found the 3% of whatever this was not what was, this wasn't the account, right?
before that.
This wasn't the account before.
Yeah, right.
The account before had to be something larger than
Right,
this.
so the account before would have been 1,854.
So when you find 3% of 1,854, you don't get 54, you actually get 56. Let me tell you how you should do it. It's very close. This 1,800 actually has 3% taken out of it already.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yes.
Right.
So therefore, this 1,800 is 97% off whatever that figure was before.
Okay.
Agree? So to find whatever that figure was before, you're gonna find 97% of the 1,800. Cross multiply. Divide by 97.
But I'm working on it too long.
How much is that?
It must be a short. There must be a shorter way. Is there a shorter way? Or would I have to correct
I
it?
think I have too many zeros. 1,800. 1, 8, 1, 2. Divide by 97. How much again? 1,855.
No.
1746.
I get 1,746.
1,800 divided by 97.
1,000. How much is this? 180,000. 1, 2,
Divided by
3.
97.
Divided by 97. Give you how much? 1,855. 0.6. So we don't want to work with no decimal into the statement, so we're going to round it off to 1,856. So the whole was 1,856. And if what he paid or what he received by check was 1,008, means the discount has to be 56.
Okay.
It's very close to what you just got, 54, but it's incorrect. 54 is not correct. I don't get that now. All right, work it. Let me go again.
Let me see if I can understand.
You collected a check for $1,800 after 3% was taken out of it. Good? What many persons will do is that they will go ahead and they'll find 3% of 1,800. But do you agree that this could not be correct because this has to be the account before the 1,800. So it has to be something that is larger than that, right? So what I'm saying is that because 3% is already taken out of whatever that whole was, we can call it an X, yes? Then it means that this 1,800 represents 97% of that value, right? This 1,800 is 97% of whatever that figure was. So 97% of it is equal to 1,800. We're trying to find what that figure was. Right? What was that figure? What would 100% of that figure be? If you cross multiply, so them teaching not to do in math, 100 times this would give you 180,000, and 97 times 1 would give you 97. So therefore, the x that we are trying to find here would be equal to this divided by this. It works out to be 1,855.6. We round it off to be 1,856. Now, if you go ahead and you find 3% of 1,856, it should take you right back to 56. The way you were doing it a while ago, when you found 54, you could not, if you find 3% of the 1854, because that's what you said you did not, you found 3% of the 18 and add it back. So you're saying that the whole should be 1854. Yeah? But if you found 3% of this, it will not give you back 56. In fact, it will not give you back 54. So you know something is wrong with it. Right? This is a little bit, maybe a little bit off because of the rounding off of the 0.6, right? But this is what you should do whenever you have a situation like this, where this code was taken out and you have a figure for your check already, right? Minus whatever that percentage is. So let's say, for instance, you were told, that you receive a check of $95 after a discount of 5% was taken out. It means that the $95 that you receive is 95% of whatever the whole was, right? So if you're gonna find whatever that X was, 95% of the X is equal to 95. Right? And you work backwards to find it. So 100 times that will give you 9,500. Divide by 95, which will give you 100. So therefore, the whole was 900. You understand? Now, if you work this the way you were doing it before by finding 5% of 95, it would be wrong. But 5% of 95 will give you something like
4.75.
yeah, 4.75.
And then we will just
And then you will add it back to 95. If you add,
when is the point and we'll roll it off and we're back at the time?
no.
No.
4.75 plus 95. So you're saying that your whole is 99.75. So you work it out this way. So please remember this math.
Okay.
Right? Please remember this math. Whatever your check is, then that is the percentage that remains after that discount was taken out, whatever the rate is. All right. All right, so that was the 8th of March.
Cash check of 1,000 for office use.
Cash check of 1,000 for office use.
Okay, this was what date?
The same day.
Same date. So this sounds like a contract. Yeah. Cash check for office use. So we're taking money from out of the bank, it's for office use, so therefore it has to be cash that we're going to use. Right? So this is the 8th. We're taking money out of bank. How much money?
1,000.
1,000, and we're putting that $1,000 into cash. All right, so contract entry.
So credit cash and debit bank.
Credit your bank and debit your cash. All right, the check is cash for office use, so it means you have to get cash to use in the office. All right, what comes after the 8th?
March
March
12th,
12.
received a check for 680 from S. Thompson. So we debit that, debit bank.
Hold on. And for settlement purpose sold by 700.
So there's a discount of $20. Alright, so we received 680. Don't forget to put in the discount when you have a situation like that. Usually when it comes like this, is easy, right? You don't have to minus whatever you collected from whatever the account balance was.
Debit bank.
Sales ledger.
What's next?
Alright, section cash
See the
sales amount is
amount.
$400.
Cash sales?
Amount is $400.
That's it.
Wages of 800
Wages of 800
paid by cash.
Same day?
Yeah.
Mhm.
$20,
Mhm.
$1,000.
Cash of
Cash
1,000.
paid into the account.
March 20, 1,000.
Cash of 1,000.
One was paid into the bank.
Into the bank.
Okay, cash of 1,000.
Paid
cash is
into
debit.
the bank.
Cash is credited.
That would be
Cash of
right.
1,000 paid into
And
bank.
bank is debited.
Yes, okay.
Alright, so in this case, our cash is reducing and our bank is increasing.
And that's a contract.
Yes, it's a contract.
No, the 20.
Check of 500 drawn for personal use.
Check of 500.
Drawn for personal use.
What date? 27th. So it's drawn for personal use. It must be what? Draw it. 500.
Yeah.
Check. Mhm.
That's it.
All right.
So the balance out. You know which part of it is getting small is go wrong with the cash book. We're doing the balance. So we're doing the balance in office always and mix them up. Right. And I get it right on this.
Well, you remember how to balance off your accounts. That's all you're doing. Just think of it as a regular T account. You find the difference between the two sides and put the difference on the
On
smaller
each side.
Yes.
So you
Because remember that it's two accounts you have here, so pretty much. So it's two different card you're supposed to have and two different drawdown.
oh,
Right? Both of them were there.
Both of them were there.
Okay. So let's start with our cash. I usually say, okay, since I don't know exactly, if you can't just look at it and know exactly which side the difference is going to be on, just leave enough space to put in a carry down if there's one that should go here. Right? Leave enough space for this side as well. More than likely, you will have a carry down over here, a cash, because cash cannot have a credit balance. But for the bank, you may not be so certain. Alright? Alright, so let's add up the cash debit side. 2,250. And when we compare that, the debit side of cash.
I remember what the carried on this feature.
Right, so what we're doing is that we're adding up this 120, this 800, and this 1,000. That would have given us 2,000.
no.
Sorry, yeah,
1,920.
1,920. And then this side was 2,250. Good. So debit and credit. We find the difference between the two sides.
So the balance
330.
carried on the lower side, right?
Right? Once you have entered the carry down there and you add that in now with what is already there,
You should
then
get
you
back.
should get back the same 2,250.
And then you bring your balance brought down over this side. That's all. Yeah.
Yes. So this is April 1st. Balance brought down 330. Now the cash will always be like that. It cannot be any other way for cash. So if you're balancing off your cash and you're getting a carry down here, so and a brought down here, so you need to stop. You cannot have a credit balance for cash. Right? Bank, however, can be either ways.
Okay.
But in this case, let's see what we have. We have 2,008 plus 680.
3,480.
3,480 for the debit side, and our credit side was
Do I remember? But we carried on 650.
15 plus 665 plus 700. Right, so our credit side was 2865. That's the credit side. So certainly you realize that the credit side is smaller, and that's where the carry down is gonna be. So it was on how much? 615?
15.
And so we add back the 615 now with the balances that were already there. Then we should come back to the figure of 3480. 3480. Balance brought down 615. And it was a case where the credit side was the debit side was smaller, then you'd have done the same thing, find the difference, but this time you're going to have balance carried out over this side, add it in with whatever values you already have there to get your total. It's supposed to be the same thing that is here, and then you're gonna have balance brought down, big value over there. So in a case where the bank ends up having a credit balance, it means you're gonna have your balance two difference carried on, brought down on either side.
Where the 615 again?
2,865. That's the amount that we had spent over here, taken away from what we collected for the entire month.
Okay.
Some of these values here. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long while.
Me too.
You haven't seen yourself in a long while? The place is different, huh?
I'm surprised.
The board looks very different. All right, so it's this balance in our bank account now of 615 that the B part of the question tells us that we're to use to prepare the updated cash flow. So if you flip over to the other side of the page, you'll see the B part of the question, which is really what you were supposed to focus on. But since we needed to have this 615,
There any question that said that we needed this?
it says with the balance that you have. You never tell her the balance, but it says that
Closing bank balance.
update cash book starts with the closing balance in this cash book from A above. So if you know you find a wrong figure yourself, same wrong figure you carry. Oh, so first of all, let's look at what he received a bank statement that showed an overdrawn balance of $1,405. Right? Clearly something off it because our cash book is saying 615. His bank statement is saying 1405 overdrawn. On careful examination, the following discrepancies were found. So we have one, a bank charges of $20, which we'll know will go into the updated cash book credit side. Check off 1A received from P. Shivers on March 8th and been dishonored. Yes, so the same check here is off. Dishonored, so it's gonna be credited in the updated cash book. Standing order for insurance premium of $700 has been paid by the bank. Standing order, updated cash book, credit side. A check for $500 drawn for personal use on March 27th. Was not among the cancelled check returned by the with the statement. There was also no record of it on the bank statement. Unpresented, yes. And that's it. So we are to update his cash book and we are to do a bank reconciliation statement. All right, so let's see if we can hold it right here. We're going to start with our balance of 615. All right, and then we have, tell me again, standing order was the first one, or bank charge? Bank charge is for 20. And then the other one is on a check. 1,008.
Standing order for 700. And that's it.
That's it.
So balance out.
Okay. The balance carried down. I realized from just by looking at the balance that it's going to be a credit balance. So we have 1,008 plus 7 is 2,520. 2,520 minus 615. 1,905. 1,905. 1,905. Right? Bank recon, did they tell us in balance to start with? Remember, you should always look for that, right?
No, it didn't. It didn't. So the bank recon give you a balance sometimes to start with this.
Yes, they sometimes we can say to you, do a bank reconciliation statement starting with,
March 31st, 2019.
and they could have said start with balance as per bank statement, in which case you have to start off with that 1,405 that they gave you. In some instances, it's not possible. It's the only possibility to start with this one because the bank statement may not be given, right? But where both balances are given, then they could actually be specific and say start with one. And if they do ask you to start off with the bank statement balance and you do it this way, they will penalize you because you have not followed the instructions. Okay, so this is 1905. Remember, we said that it is an overdraft. We should have a negative figure, right?
That's it on the credit side, right?
Yes. We add unpresented checks, which in this case is gonna be the 500. So we're adding to a negative 9,000, a negative 1,905. We're adding 500. So this becomes 1,405. Agree? Yeah, because this positive figure is gonna reduce your negative.
But it's supposed to still be negative.
It is still negative, yes. I'm sorry, yes, still negative because it's not bigger.
It's about overdraft.
It's
about overdraft.
That once you're calculating an overdraft, then when you come down here, you have to treat the figure as a negative figure.
So there is a balance what we want and give it back. The bank balance.
We didn't have a late lodgement?
No, nothing else.
Oh, okay. The balance as per bank statement, which is the 1,405 that they gave us.
Yes.
Overdraft.
Double cross, nice. No, the transaction is okay.
I get 20 marks.
You did?
Which one they get 20 marks?
Another question.
Just now. You get 20 marks. You must realize if you're a woman, good girl.
Yes.
Transfer it for the exam. I hope this question is like exam person. And then they never show it down.
It's make it easier. That's too good. Hard to do.
Never. Somebody send me text. I don't know what happened. It's a bad day, but this is the topic that I'm going to do.
5 days. 5 days.
5%. 5 to 8.
From the time.
One and a half.
The move up. The move up. Then by 6:30. What is the next one?
So I know there was another question from the activity booklet, but I think it was kind of similar to this, but you had to do it
Cash
bank
and
account and then use the balance from it to do the bank refund. So if you haven't done it yet,
Can you do it?
if you haven't done it yet for the people who haven't done it, then please work on that one.
That's page 15, 382.
Work on that one and show it to me
Page
next week.
36, Mayor, activity.
I will grade it.
But you want to
The one from the
No,
activity
it's
booklet.
cross.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was that one.
they didn't give us that one because we realized something was in it. I didn't teach us. The teacher said, but I give it to him. So we went on to activity book.
Actually, I said, forget it, because when she was looking at it, she realized something was in it.
Oh, but that was one from the past paper.
Right. For the fact paper.
Oh, no, I remember that, but I'm talking about the activity booklet now.
Oh, page 30.
Yeah, there was another one.
Same thing.
Yeah, man, I did.
You never get page 30. Oh, when you need it, you don't have one.
I was sleeping anytime after 8 o'clock in
Yeah, that's the one on page 36 for Adam's name. Yeah, I still want you to do it, but I'm not going to do it now, right?
All right, before you touch the new topic,
Next one, next slide.
yeah. Question for Jeremy.
Yes?
Before you touch the new topic. What I want to decide. It means that I'm going to have to answer.
All right, so it's what? Coffee break?
You know, so they don't have it in stock. They don't have it in stock. I have to try to wait to get it. It's very hard for Yes, but not everything was available. It's still not available because I asked last week. I don't know if it's last week, but I know I did. Well, like I don't remember that book. They're joking, right? They couldn't get the alarm because that's crazy. I think it was like this month before school closed. I need
So, when was last time you got?
last week. I think it was last week. I asked for a few minutes and I went downstairs and I was saying to them. And they said, must be patient. So I told him my patience is very thin. And I remember coming up with ears last week Tuesday I went to them. I gave him 1 week break. I shall return tomorrow. I gotta ask him for it again. You know, right?
I should been saying now, but in the man.
I hope give him my money. Come like a more. That's not saying for it. Come about them for already. That's tomorrow check it out and see. 1 day. Some appreciation. You wait on that snap on the 14th of December. Right.
So the day when we're gonna be here?
Yes. I'm coming out there for the
What day is that?
That's Thursday.
December 14th, what is happening on that day?
The request my appreciation here downstairs. The person in charge down there when I'm watching my camera. They get put in and all them things and
Oh, welcome specifically.
I hold specifically for that family. No, it's not.
Sure you want to do that?
I don't know. I was 90 from me. I don't know. Negotiations, so I don't know. I never been about it.
Somebody hungry. I'm sure you before I come back.
Man, I'm living.
But they're not that go full of belly. I have to eat some food. Some chicken and rice.
It's not hard to come. I'm putting for them. I'm putting on that.
No, it's not for me, it's for you guys. Alright guys, so we're leaving bank reconciliation statements for a little while. We will meet up on it again when it's time for review. But I believe that we should by now understand the concepts, and it's just for you to perfect your knowledge by practicing questions from wherever you can find them, right? From your past papers, textbooks, etc. Right? So we're moving on to look at another area, correction of errors. Now, if you recall when we had done the general journal and we went through the uses of the journal, that among the uses was this one. The journal is used for correction of errors, right? So apart from recording fixed assets on credit and sale of fixed assets and return of fixed assets and those other things, the general journal is also used to make corrections for errors. Now, the thing is that when we make an error in our accounting records, these errors must be corrected by following double entry procedures. what some of you do when you make an error is that you cross out. Yes, so if you debit and credit something that you're not supposed to debit and credit, some of you will go and you will cross it out and write the correct figure above it, beside it, underneath it. Or you may use white out and you liquid it out. Some of you may even try rubbing it out. Some of you may throw the page and start over. You
So
cannot.
There's an easier way, no?
Yeah, there's a correct way for doing it. Right? None of what I just said is a correct way. Because especially when you're using an accounting system that is set up on your computer, most times when you enter an accounting record, you can't go back and change it. If you want to change, if you want to reverse what you have done, then you have to make a double entry in order to do the reversing. Can you imagine if you could easily just go in and erase out something that you put in previously?
Well,
A lot of people may manipulate the system by doing that.
In the accounting system knows, I guess because it creates its own general journal.
Right.
So it makes it corrections there. But if you enter transaction incorrectly, you can always go back to it. If you don't reconcile it yet, you can always go back to it and change it.
If you can do that, just anybody can just do that. That would be easy for people to manipulate the system.
Well, I guess it's probably just the administrator for the machine. Because like QuickBooks now is, even if you share the file amongst an organization in the accounts department. Certain changes, only the administrator, meaning the machine, because there's a central machine that would have to give other persons permission to access certain files.
Right.
So the administrator could be able to change it.
But not you.
But not other persons.
Right.
Yes.
All right, well, fine. All right. So when these corrections are to be made, we're gonna make these corrections by following double entry procedures. All right. Now, there are two types of errors that we're going to be looking at. Right? Errors are of two types. We have errors not affecting the trial balance. Errors not affecting the trial balance. And then you have errors affecting the trial balance. Now, the ones that we are going to be focusing on, let's see, some more back. The one that we're going to be focusing on tonight is going to be this one. Errors not affecting the trial balance. Now, what this means is that these are errors that when they are made, it does not show up in your trial balance. Your trial balance is still going to be equal. So remember when we had done our ledgers and you extracted the trial balance that we had said that once trial balance was balanced, everything is fine? Not true. Sometimes your trial balance can actually be balanced and yet there are errors in there.
Yeah, because even the one that you gave me is the test, the one that we do. The trial balance was correct, but there are errors in the double entry section.
Right.
Right.
So depending on how that double entry was made, depending on the type of error, once it resulted in a debit and a credit, right, your trial balance is still going to be equal. So you can't tell that there's an error by just looking at the trial balance totals, right? You really have to go back into the books and check them to recognize that there are errors in there. Right? So these are the ones we're going to be looking at tonight. Errors not affecting the trial balance. Right, and we leave this one, number 2, for next week. Not number 2B, for next week. Now there are some names that we give to these errors. Use names to describe them. Now, two things. Two things I want you to bear in mind. One is that if you know double entry very well, these errors in general, are easy to correct. This topic can be very easy if you know your double entry well. Because pretty much what these errors mean is that there's something wrong with the double entry. So if you can identify what is wrong, right, you know how to do the correction, then you just make the correction, right? So the people who will have problem with this area are the people who are not fluent with their double entry. Secondly, this is an area that is very important. So you have to learn it and learn it very well. Okay. The information in your study notes for this is, you will find it on page number, let me just give it a reading so that when you are going through, you know exactly where to go. Starts on page 63 and goes down to page 66. Right, so page 63 to page 66 of your study notes, you'll find details about this. Alright, so since this is one that we're going to be focusing on tonight,
It's more easy to remember.
I'm going to just take this out.
These are some long details that you really want to learn.
And when you correct your errors by using a general journal. Alright, debiting and crediting a general journal. Alright, so as I said before, there are some names that we give to these errors. There are about 6 of them. And I'm going to start with what I believe is the easiest to the hardest one. Starting with one that is called an error of omission. How is that omission again? Is it 2x or
2x.
2x?
Yes.
Error of omission. What do you think that means?
No, it's one and
I thought so.
Sorry,
Error of omission. Yeah, omit. O-M-I-T, yeah. Error of omission. What do you think that means?
You forgot to put in something.
You forget to put in something, right? And in this case, what you forget to put in is a double entry, the transaction. So a transaction has taken place and it was not entered in the books. And while we discuss each of these, I wanted to be able to see why it would cause the trial balance not to be affected. Right?
Repeat that one.
The error of commission.
Omission.
An error of omission is where a transaction was completely left out of the books. Right? So it therefore means that there was no debit entry that was made and there was no credit entry that was made. So your trial balance is going to be equal. It's still going to be equal, except that's going to be short by whatever that amount was that you committed. Right? And this is why I said this one is the easiest. To correct it, all they're going to do is just record it for the first time. Right? So this is where a transaction was completely left out of the books. I'm going to use, let me not do it this way. So I'm going to draw, as I go along, I'm going to just give some examples and I'm going to use journals to show you the correction for each of them. Right? So 6 of them, so I'm going to show you 6 different examples, 6 different journals. But you know that if you're doing a question, you would not have 6 journals, one entire journal for all the errors. All right? All right, so let's say, for example, right? We were told that now we got December. On December the 1st, credit sales of $500 was not entered in the books. It could be anything, right? As long as it was not recorded, so there was no debit entry, there was no credit entry, it means that it is an error of omission, right? And all you need to do is to record it now for the first time. So your journal is going to show your debit, your credit, your dates, your details. Now first your folio. Alright, credit sales of $500 was not recorded in the books. I should say credit sales of $500. Right, I should have told you who is the credit sales one. Right? The credit sales of $500 for T small was not entered in the books. So on December the 1st, if we're gonna sell goods to T small, what should our double entry be?
Sell goods,
The T small.
sales,
Credit sales, credit sales, and debit.
Sales credit and debit T small, right? Now that is what should have been done. It was never done before, so we're gonna do it now, right? So you go ahead and you debit T small for 500 and you credit your sales for 500. Remember, T small is a customer, so that's simply SL sales GL. Now you also write your narrative to explain what is it that you've done. Right? You must write your narratives. You can write error of omission. Correct. Sometimes I don't like when you write it this way, because sometimes we don't really get what kind of error it is. We know how to correct it, but we don't know what kind of error it is. So most times I actually do prefer, so let me erase it and write it the way I prefer it. And I think the examiners also have a preference. Credit sales not entered, no credit there. All right, everybody's good with the error of omission. The transaction was completely left out, right? And you are now recording it for the first time. Nothing challenging about that. I'm going to error number 2. And I'm going to call this one error of original entry. Error of original entry. Now, for an error of original entry, it would involve a situation where an error is made. 2 accounts that are used are correct. You have used the correct accounts. However, the amount that you've entered in the accounts is incorrect. Right? This incorrect amount could have been entered in the accounts maybe because from day 1 that the wrong information may have been entered on the source documents, and because of that, the wrong information transferred into the accounting records. Or it could be just an error that is made because of addition. You know, people just put in down figures. Sometimes persons write figures and they drop off a 0, they add on a 0 too much. Yeah, we do that a lot of times. We're supposed to write 1,000, or we end up writing 100, or we write 10,000, right? Or we're supposed to write 985, but instead we write 958, right? Those are errors of original entry. Once the error is one that involves an amount that is incorrect, right? It's an error of original entry. Now, how you correct that error also depends on whether the figure that you've entered is too much or too little. So you just know when we're doing the bank recon, that we could know how the errors would have been corrected, whether we should debit or credit the updated cash flow, until we actually saw what the error was. That similar thing's gonna happen here. You can't know whether you should debit or credit to make the correction until you know if you've either added too much or you've added too little, right? So an error of original entry is where an incorrect amount is entered in the books. All right, so remember that all the time the accounts that you've used are going to be the 2 correct accounts. In fact, you're also going to be debit and credit the correct accounts. It's just that you debited and credited the wrong amount in the accounts. All right, so let's make up an example for this now. Alright, so there's my error. A check that I've paid to R. Smith for $592 was entered in the books as $929.
As 529.
As $529. Could have been that way, right? I could have said 954 or 9, yeah. All right, so it means that I've used my correct accounts, but the amounts are wrong. Right? How do I make the correction for this? First of all, and I usually say to persons, always have a rough work paper. They're going to give you a booklet in the exam, or they may have paper that you can ask for, right? Ask for the paper and make your rough work on it. I usually say to persons, write what the error was and then make the correction, right? So in a case like this, for instance, and after a while, you're going to get so good at it that you wouldn't need to be doing this. I paid a check to R. Smith. So I know right away the 2 accounts that I would have created would have been an account for bank and an account for R. Smith. And if I'm gonna pay a check to R. Smith for 592, then I'm actually supposed to be crediting my bank and debiting Smith. Now I did so, but I did so with 529. Right? So I debit my bank with 529 and I debit R. Smith with 529. No, that's the error, right? The double entry is correct, but the amount that we should have put in the account is 592. That means that we have understated the figure. Yeah, by how much? 592.
592 minus
73.
63.
So understated by 63.
We're understated by 63. So how do we now make the correction for the $63? What would
You
you
said
do?
you make the corrections to the journal.
Mhm.
Right? So you have to create a journal now, general
Right.
journal, and then you apply the amounts correctly.
All right. Now, what to do debit and what to do? Because apart from doing the journal, you have to, after you've done the journal, you have to come back to the ledgers to make the
So
correction.
nothing has changed in terms of the how you apply just the amount in the journal.
Right. So what to do debit and what to do credit?
You debit R. Smith same way, the correct amount, and credit bank with the correct amount.
With the 63.
Yeah.
The difference.
The
different.
Right. So bank is going to be credited with 63 and R. Smith is going to be credited with 63. Correct. Agree? Because if you should balance off the account, now you'll get the 592 that you're supposed to have there.
So in the journal,
And the 593 that you're supposed to have there. Yes, only the difference.
only the difference.
Only the difference. Just as when you were doing the bank recon a while ago, it was always just the difference. Same thing applies. You can't put the full 592 because you already have the transaction for 529. So you only need to take care of the difference. Right? So when you draw up your journal, debit, credit. Right, the journal is gonna show on December the 5th that you're debiting R. Smith with 63 and you're crediting your bank with 63. What is good with that? So of course it was a situation now where we had entered a figure that was more than we are supposed to have there. Then it means that to make the corrections, because suppose it was the 952 that we had placed in the books. It means that in order for it to be saved 592, that would now have to go find the difference and go to the other side of the account. So I'm saying, you're minusing from the account, you have to go to the other side. Now for the narrative for this one, it would be nice when you write a narrative, for your narrative to show
What you did.
What you did. Yes, and that means that you have to show that the transaction was for this amount or you entered this. Right? So payment of 592. I don't need to set to R. Smith because I mean the entries, the accounts there would show who would have been paid. So payment of 592
What's the folio?
entered as 529. No, corrected.
What's the folio in this one? R. Smith is SL, right?
Yeah, we are paying to R. Smith. Yes, so we're gonna assume that he is not SL, PL, and bank would be cash book, CP. This one is a little bit easy to me. It is, but it can actually get you mixed up if you're not careful. Always remember just the difference. Yeah, we move on to number 2, but there's something I need to tell you first. Alright, so everybody's okay with error number 2? Error original entry. Alright, so number 3. I'm gonna call error number 3 error of commission. The other one is going to be error of principle. In order for us to know the difference between an error of commission and an error of principle, we need to know this. Classification of accounts. You see all of those key accounts that you had drawn up before? They can be classified or they can fall under one of these headings. They are either a real account, a nominal account, or a personal account. All real accounts are accounts of property. So think about what you own, right? They are your real accounts. Motor van, buildings, furniture, equipment, cash, bank, not assets.
But they are assets.
They are assets, but we're not gonna say assets. Why? Because debtor is also an asset, but debtor is not a real account. Right? Accounts of property.
Oh.
Or maybe we could say account of assets except debtors.
First of all,
Alright, so those are your real accounts. Your nominal accounts now are going to be accounts of your expenses, your revenues, and your capital. So things like rent, wages, repairs, insurance, rent received, commission received, discount received, interest, salaries, yes. Those would all be nominal accounts. And then your personal accounts now are going to be accounts of your debtors and creditors. Right? Personal accounts. All debtors and creditors. So A. Brown, Y. Smith.
You didn't list the examples.
No, because I just said debtors and creditors. So any debtors and creditors, names of people now, organization who are people that you owe, people that owe you. Then those are going to be your personal accounts. All suppliers, all customers, right, are going to be your personal accounts. Let's see if they get it for this one now. An error of commission. A transaction is entered in the wrong person's account. A lot of times when you try to find out what an error of commission is, either by looking into textbooks, that's what you're gonna see. Transaction is entered in the wrong person's account. Let me deal with that part first. Why? Sometimes you have names that are very similar. And because the names are very similar, the persons who are entering up the records, the accounting records, may make a mistake and place the transaction in the wrong person's account. For instance, a lot of persons, this is my name. How many of you knew that this was how my name was spelled without the Henry? Huh?
Or it's not part?
Ah, a lot of persons believe that the surname is this. This is my name.
A Sparks.
Yes.
I thought it was Andre Henry.
Henry.
It's Sparks Henry. Yes.
Sparks.
No.
No, my first name is not Sparks.
Oh.
My first name is not. It's Sparks Henry. Alright, so I was telling about the Sparks part of it. No, a lot of persons believe this is my name. This one. Right? Now, can you imagine having, so it's A, you have two customers, right? One by the name of A Sparks and another customer by the name of A Parks. Now, you entered up in a transaction with A Sparks, but for some reason, the person was entering up the accounting records. Instead of putting the information in this account, placed it in this one instead. Understand? That's an error of commission, where the transaction is entered in the wrong person's account. Sometimes you also have names that are the same last name. For instance, you may have a person by the name of Brown who spell the name B-R-O-W-N. Another person spell the name same Brown, B-R-O-W-N-E. Right? And let's say it's the same initial for the first name. In fact, it will be this exact name. Yeah, you entered into a transaction with this man, but you put it into this person's account instead. Right? Or two surnames that are the same, Parker and Parker, but the Christian name is different. So this person's first name starts with A, and this person's first name starts with C. But a mistake is made, and you enter it into the wrong man's account again. You enter in a transaction with A Parker, but you put it into C Parker's account. Could be Parkinson, as we say, right? So these kind of things do happen, especially when you have names that are like this, very similar, right? Then there are instances where a transaction could be entered into the wrong person's account. And once it's entered into the wrong person's account, we refer to it as an error of commission. No, I don't want you though to believe that an error of commission is only with person's name. Can be with other accounts as well, and this is why I extended it. Or entered in the wrong account, but same class of account. And isn't that what this is? It's entered into the wrong account, but the accounts are the same class because they are the same personal account. Right? Names of people belong to the same class of account. Right? You get what I'm saying? So this is why this is actually an error of commission. Transaction is entered in the wrong account, yes, but the same class of account. Same class of account when you compare it with the account that it really should have been entered in, right? Both of them are from the same class of account. So if you were, for instance, what are you taking? I'm taking out the names. So if you, for instance, were told that you paid rent, right? But instead of debiting the rent account, you debited rent received.
That's wrong.
It's wrong, yeah? It's entered into the wrong account. But guess what? They are within the same class because they are both nominal accounts. You understand? So this error is actually an error of commission as well. So I'm saying doesn't have to be the names of people. You may have bought a motor van, right? But instead of debiting the motor van, you debited building accounts. Wrong account or equipment. Yeah? Wrong account. But guess what? Same class because they are both real accounts. Right? So it makes it still an error of commission. I think for some reason, most times when they give you the error of commission, they tend to use the names of people. And because of that, somehow it is in our head that a commission error has to do with the names of people. Right? But it doesn't have to be the names of people. As long as they fall within the same class, it is still an error of commission. Right? Alright, so I'm going to give you an example. So credit purchases of $600 from A. Parker was entered correctly in purchases account, but credited to A. Parkinson's account. Now the mistake that we make sometimes when we get an error like this too, is that we correct the account that don't need to be corrected. Which account does not need to be corrected here? Purchases. Purchases was already entered
Correctly.
right? In fact, sometimes the transaction don't even when telling say it was correctly entered. They're going to credit purchases of 600 from Parker was entered in Parkinson's account. Right? Once they said that, they didn't mention anything about the purchases. It means that the purchases account was fine. Right? So the only two accounts that you need to correct are the two personal accounts. Right? Parker is wrong. Why? Because you bought something from this person and you're supposed to place it in this person's account, but you haven't done so. So this account is short of something. Right? This one is also incorrect because you have not entered into a transaction with this person, yet you have placed something in his account. Right? So this account has an entry there that does not belong there. Right? So to make your correction, you have to now remove the entry from this, right? And place it to Parker's account.
Because it's already entering purchases.
It's already entered in purchases, so you're not going to trouble the purchases, none at all.
But then in the purchases account, you still need to change the name.
Most times, the name is correctly entered there too. The details is fine.
Always details going to be fine. So for example, the purchases is with Parker, but under purchases, you put Parkinson. So the details is still wrong.
You're saying that you may have had the incorrect detail in purchases. Well, if that's the case, then yes, you have to go back and correct the details there. But usually for
just the details section.
Just the details section.
Right. Just the details section. Because the balance will work out to be the same.
Fine. I understand if that's the case. But usually though, for your exams, they focus on just
on that.
Yes. So you will need to go back or change details in the purchases account. But yes, you're thinking you really would have to do that if the details was wrong. All right, so what would you do in a case like this? Again, make the error.
General, correct.
So we have debit, we have credits. All right. Easiest way is to make the error. Or let's start it through. Credit purchases from A Parker. What should your double entry be if you're buying goods from A Parker on credits? You're supposed to
purchases.
Come again?
Debit
purchases and credit Parker, right? Debit purchases and credit Parker. Now the purchases was already written out, so that means the debit entry was fine. The credit entry to Parker's account, however, was not made. The credit entry was made instead to where? Parkinson. So we're going to make the correction now. If this was credited in error, you have to cancel the credit entry from here by debiting A Parkinson.
It didn't give us a date, just said it's
And crediting the correct account now, which is A Parker. 600, 600. Let's say this was December day. Let's see, yeah, let's use the 8. Yeah, not really matter. Alright? Are we seeing that? Walk through it again. You buy goods from Parker on credit. Purchases should be debit, Parker should be credit. So you have to make sure that when you have made your correction, that Parker is credited. Right? In error, what you had done was that you credited Parkinson. Right? That account should not have been credited at all. So you have to remove that credit entry by debiting it. Right. So when you debit the 600 to Parkinson account, what you've done is that you've canceled right, the entry that you placed there before. Right? And you now put the correct entry into Parker's account.
The actual person that
The actual person that they correct that got the entry in the account now. So you take it out of this, you place it here. All right, and for this narrative now we could say something like I'm gonna write credit purchases entered in wrong account. No correcting. We usually just add no correcting at the end of it to show that the correction was made. And this would be we're buying from them, right? So we're buying from Parker. So we're going to assume that these people are both suppliers of ours. So PL for our folio. Use the purchase, yeah, purchase. And you know that error of commission is, one of those what you probably would, call the challenging ones. But if you know it, it's never hard. So if I bought equipment and instead of debiting equipment, I debited motor van account. It means I have to reverse the debit entry from motor van by crediting motor van and then debiting the equipment. Right? So once you can picture a double entry, you should know what to do here. All right, number 4. Very similar to this one. So I'm going to erase here for number 4. Number 4 is going to be called an error of principle. Right, so 3 and 4. Yes, error of commission and error of principle. Please don't mix them up. Alright. So you see where for this one we enter the transaction in the wrong account, but they were in the same class of account. For an error of principle, you've entered in the wrong account and you've also entered in the wrong class of account. Right. So for error of principle, you actually go outside of the class of account.
They put something in the personal account into the nominal account.
Right. So something that's supposed to be you're supposed to enter the transaction into a real account, or you put it into a nominal account.
Or a personal account.
Or a personal account. Right. Right. So transaction is entered in the wrong class of account. Right, and here's an example that you usually will see. December the 10th. Motor expenses for $200 was entered in motor vehicles account. Motor expense of 200 was entered in motor expenses. And of course, was entered in motor vehicle account. For some persons who don't know the double entry very well, them really can't see a difference between these things, you know. Motor expense here is a nominal account.
So that means a nominal and a real account.
Right, and motor vehicle is a real account. Right, so we have entered here the transaction, correct amount used, but it was entered in the wrong class of account.
So when I say expensive, you know that's not showing.
Now, usually if you're going to pay motor expenses, you're going to debit to motor expenses, right?
Yes.
Don't worry about what you pay with. Right? That's not the clear. That's not the problem. You whether you pay with cash or check, that part of the entry was, fine, was credited. But when the debit entry was to be made to your motor expenses, instead of debiting the motor expenses, you debited the motor vehicle account. The other thing here now, all the transactions saying is that motor expenses was entered in motor vehicle account. And some people will sit down here and say, it's which side of the account? But if you're recording motor expenses, it must be debited on because your expenses are always debited when they are being made.
Yes.
So instead of debiting the motor expense, you've debited a motor vehicle account. So to make your correction, you now have to remove the debit entry from here because it doesn't belong there, don't. So you go remove it from the motor vehicle account by crediting motor vehicles and then debiting. Make sure that the account that's supposed to be debited, that is it, debit. Right? Motor expenses. Motor expenses debit and motor vehicle credited in order to cancel the entry that was made in that account. This is December the 10th. Amount entered in wrong account, now corrected. This is why I said don't write error of, because some people would write error of principle or corrected, and that's fine. But sometimes we actually know how to do the correction, but when we write in the narrative, we write error of commission or corrected. And the examiner said yes. Then we don't know what it is. Because they call it, this is an error of commission. Even though you have corrected it fine, you still don't know what kind of error it is because you're doing it wrong. Right? So don't write it like that. Right? Write it out the long way or the long way. You know what another common error of principle is? Something like this. Sale of motor van entered in sales account. So sometimes we still don't know how to use our sales account or purchases account. We don't know how to use the asset of stock properly. Anytime you sell anything, no matter what you sell, you throw it into sales. Huh? That's an error of principle as well. In this case, you have sold a motor van. That's what you're supposed to credit. But if you enter it in sales, it means you have credited your sales account instead. Don't? So in a situation like this where you've credited sales, when you should not have done so, it means now to make the correction that you have to debit your sales in order to cancel the credit entry that you've made in it. And you're going to credit now the correct account, which is your motor van. Right? Still an error of principle because motor van is real account. Right? Your motor van here is a form of real account, but your sales is a form of nominal account, a form of revenue. Right? Same thing would have happened if you say purchases of equipment
entered in the purchase account.
Entered in purchases account. Again, anything we buy, someone will throw it in the purchases, regardless of what you buy. Yeah?
Purchases is only about goods, remember?
We remember, but some people don't remember. So anything they buy, they put it into purchases. Right? Which is wrong. The only thing that goes to purchases is purchase of stock. Right? But here again, your purchases account is a form of nominal account. Right? Your equipment is a real account. So if you're going to make an error like this, it has to be an error of principle as well.
The same thing if you made an error in a return inward account.
Yes, yeah. Well, not return in a return out would be treat them as the same because it's both stock. But suppose you return equipment and you put it into returns inwards. Yes. So in this case, if you're going to correct an error like this, you've debited.
So those miss. The
Yeah.
folio for that is GL, right? Yeah.
Yes. Here for both. If you were to make this correction here, you'd have to debit your equipment and credit your purchases. Cancel from it. So I'm just saying that you need to recognize these as well when you're doing your questions. Recognize these as well as error of principle. Alright, so we have two more left. Number 5 is not so hard. Right, I'm going to erase this here. For number 5. Now this one, when we don't know double entry, we do this one all the time. Error of complete reversal of entries. What that means? The account where you're supposed to debit, your credit. And the one where you're supposed to credit, your debit. gonna write for this one. The entries are entered on the wrong side of the
Number 3, you're right, miss.
account. This is actually number 5 of the accounts. So we move from number 4 here, right, to number 5 here. Word is kind of small, so we have to make use of the limited space. And should I enter on the wrong side of the accounts? And if you will remember that better by saying debit the account that is to be credited, credit one to be debited, we can drop that down. So my example is this.
Then we should go here, we are here to board.
All right, tell me about this one now.
Check off 600.
So here's a number that was entered.
Check off 653 to our was entered on the debit side of bank. Really?
And the credit side of our Burton's account. See anything wrong with that?
Yes.
Because check's supposed to be
The check's supposed to be credited.
and our Burton should have been debited.
So we correct it then.
Yes. Reverse.
Reverse it.
Reverse.
Simple.
So debits. Debit Burton. And credits.
This is no, she said it is
And credits.
Bank.
Bank. Wait, how much?
650.
650. And it done, yeah?
Reverse thing again.
First and it done. That figure is not correct.
What figure is not
The
correct?
650 is not correct.
What is the 650 initially?
All right.
So why is it not correct?
Think.
Well, I'm never answer. Check out 650. And I was wondering about that.
The amount is not correct. What's wrong with it?
Next trick question.
Really, a trick question.
Easy.
It's not so simple after all.
It is simple. You guys are just not thinking. All right.
Miss Ola, don't show us that yet. Don't show us that yet.
You said it was credited to the account. It was debited to the account when it should be credited. So when
Is there another figure that's supposed to be?
Yeah, so
you say like, you know,
Well, that's what you guys have done right here. You guys have just canceled out the account. But should the account be zero?
No.
The account should have 650 in it.
For one person.
For both accounts should have
Both of them.
650.
Both of them.
So we're going to get 650 in both.
And then one two side. Put one two side.
Alright, come on guys, look at this. A check of 650 paid to Albert was entered on the debit side of back. So this is the error, right? They had 650 here. Burton. And Burton's account, they have credited 650. Now this we know is wrong, right? Because it's supposed to be credit bank and debit Burton. Now what you guys have just done is that you have debited Burton and you've credited bank. Is there anything left in the account?
Nothing else.
No. So when you've done this, to cancel out the account, what else you need to do? You need to enter it back. You need to enter it back. So you go and enter it back by debiting Burton again and crediting the bank again.
So it's for transaction.
Not for. Same thing that you just did, it just means you need to double the figure.
Then that's just how I love this.
So you
Double
cancel
it
it.
up. That's just
Yeah. 650 times 2 is how much? 1300? That's what you should have in the account. So you don't need to, you don't, 1003 here, 1003 here, cancel out 650 here, and leave with the 650 that you're supposed to have there.
Or you read
Huh?
No.
Yeah, and that's the 650 there.
Yeah, because I showed you that what you did here was cancel first. But after you cancel, you're supposed to record back the figure. Right? Yeah, when you cancel out. So listen, you actually don't need to write the 650 twice.
Right.
All you need to do is to just make your entry and write 1003.
That is when you write and know what you're doing.
Because the 13 would have canceled the 615 Burton on the credit side and leave with the 650 that you're supposed to have on the debit side. Right? And here again, the 1300 here would have canceled the 650 here and leave you with the 650 that you're supposed to have on the credit side of back. I'm saying this to say, guys, that once you're doing something where the entries are completely reversed, that you need to remember that you must double the figures. Once an entry is made on the wrong side of an account, the only way you can correct it is by doubling the figure. If you're going to correct it by just simply moving it to the other side, all you're doing is canceling out. Right? So you do that if what you're doing is that you don't want to eliminate it. Right? So if it wasn't supposed to be there and all, you just want to cancel it out, then you just use the same amount. Yes? But if the error was one where the amount is supposed to be there, but on the other side, you have to double the figure. Right? Please remember that. So the only thing about this one is as easy as you said it was. It's just that you must double the figure.
Okay.
So reverse it.
They don't get more money.
Oh, we get more. No, you're not writing another check. You pay them a check for 650. But it's just that when you enter the information in your accounting records that you had placed the 650 payment on the wrong side. So all of this is just on paper.
So to get back those journals.
Oh,
So it's not
correct.
paying him that figure.
Right. You paid him the 650, but you enter the information as if you were receiving money from him. Right? On paper. So on paper now you have to go back and make the correction. You're not going to give him another check.
Okay.
Right? On your paper, in your records.
So we have to total them and keep it. So
And I said it was a situation where the account was cancelled out.
No, it wasn't being cancelled out. It's supposed to be there. 650 must be in the account. The two accounts.
Right.
Okay, so what's the insurance?
Right. So you double the figure so that it cancels out the amount that is on the wrong side and leave you the figure that is supposed to have on the correct side. It's like you're supposed to have an account. You're supposed to have you're supposed to have 4 over here, so where you put the 4 over here, so instead. The only way you can move the 4 and put it here is to put just 4. There's no money in the account. Just cancel it out. So you have to double to cancel out the 4 here. So when you balance off, this is where you have balance carried out. Balance carried on of 4. Yeah, BD of 4. So you end up with the 4 you need to have over here. Right?
So the credit transfer.
If you never did double, you would have no money in the account at all. It would just be cancelled out. All you would have done is
What's the description now?
Credit transfer. Enter the current.
No credit. Credit and debit. Credit and debit transfer entered incorrectly. No currency.
payment by check entered on the wrong side of accounts. No correct. Only if you can see that all, right? But this is payments by check.
Entered on
Entered on the wrong side of the account. No corrected. And this is bank CD.
Or
And
put payment.
person would be PL.
Payment entered on the wrong side of the account.
No corrected. Yes, there's one more. So I'm erasing this type for number 6, right? Number 6 is called compensating errors. Compensating errors. Now these are errors that cancel out each other. Alright, so the nature of the errors that have been made are such that both of them, one cancel out the other. So it's like you have overstated an account that has a debit balance by $10, but at the same time, you overstate an account that has a credit balance by the same amount.
So in other words, the A balance is going to cancel out each other.
Alright? the credit balance that you, the credit figure that you over, the credit amount overstated by 10, cancel out the debit entry that was
I understand that.
by 10.
What is interesting is how you apply the error.
All right, let's find an example.
Yes, please. With your money.
Purchases of 7,000 and sales of 5,000 were overstated by 200. By 200, yes. If I could know what? 500? Why you want 500? Come again?
But then again, is that
200. I have 200 there. It could be any amount, right? And let's say that this was December 31st. Hey, hold on. So it means that our purchases of 7,000, if it was overstated by 200, it means that the purchases really was supposed to be 6,008, right? Purchases of 7,000 was overstated by 200. So I'm saying it means that the
6,800.
oh,
6,800.
no, hold on, that's not correct. Right. Purchases of 7,000. So what they have in the books is 7,002. Right. So it's not 6,800. Supposed to be 7,000, but they would have had 7,000 records. And the state supposed to be 5,000, but they would have had 5,200. Right? So to make the correction, you're going to have to remove the 200 from both accounts. Right? So we know that sales is always credited
and purchases always
Debit.
right. So if we're going to remove 200 from the debit side of purchases, means we have to credit the purchases. Don't? And if we're going to remove
the 200.
but the 200, and if we're going to remove 200 from the credit side of sales, then we have to debit the sales with 200.
So you only put in that in
Just the 200.
Just the 200.
Just the 200, because the accounts would have already had both accounts for sales and for purchases would have already had 7,200 and 5,200. So we just need to remove the 200 from the accounts. So December 31st would have had sales being debited with 200 and purchases being credited with 200. And for narrative for this, now we want to write something that clearly shows what the values are or should be. So so what you just said?
Purchases and sales were overstated by 200, which is not correct. Even somehow. I would say overstated.
Overstated.
No, correct.
No.
Two, Miss what did
Right, I was gonna write the 7,000 and 5. Somebody who's looking at the books will probably want to know what the original balance is.
It's already in question.
In a real life situation, we're not looking at a question, we're looking at journal. How will you know?
I'll go back in the folio and look.
Folio would be GL for both, right? Yes.
In that sense, then compensating error is kind of similar to the reversal interest. The only difference is that you have double figures and compared to compensating error.
Kind of similar to which one?
So the reversal interest, the only difference is that you have double figures.
It's not similar.
No?
It's not similar. Crazy. I thought you guys said it was 8 o'clock.
Yes,
because There are 25 minutes of time.
It's not just about the age, because no,
No.
Eight, 45. So you will walk there, yeah.
Two and over.
You know how much people have affected me?
Everybody
My students are doing exams now, and I have so many different groups, and every night I have to do responding because we have exams going on.
Or we can put my example.
Hmm?
So when it's for exam time,
That's what I'm saying, because I'm so caught up answering these other
But my mom
questions.
said
that you have to wait your time. That means the middle of the
When you have 30 people that try to get you on one side, and another 30 on another
totally
side, and I
understand.
know you say, well, I should have exams.
Plus your family, you just have to ignore them.
No, I suppose I don't know to balance it then.
What is on the film?
That one, she alright. She asked me, she alright.
Alright, any questions to what we've just done there? No? So it's all clear and like that's crystal. Alright.
Really study and memorize.
Alright, in your activity booklets, turn to page 26. So remember these arrows have names, right? Right? Arrow up, what are the names again?
Error of
Commission, commission,
Error computer
Reversal of entries. And
Error
error
of
principle.
and principal.
Error principle.
Page again.
Page 26, question number 1.
Yes, it does.
If you're in the group again, ask one of us to take a picture and send it to you.
Question number 1.
You don't have the work? It's going to work. When mass have you checked? That's 18 left?
Check today.
You know me?
They shall still empty.
But
That means they're not.
by right, they should not take your money unless they give you them $4,000 hard to come back.
They ask for
And then
patience.
sometimes they give you and
All right.
you
You should check that because maybe they have things.
I'm gonna check first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, you should.
I might do.
First, identify whatever it is, and then
what we're supposed to do?
Number question 1. All right. So here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. Since it's almost all right, but what you can do for this one, you don't need to put it in the journals, but just go through
and
and
identify
identify what you're gonna debit and what you're gonna credit.
which error it is.
Yes, so we're gonna discuss it, right?
Yeah, error of connection.
Okay. Alright, that right here is,
So now you have
coming up.
Yeah.
Is Annalisa here?
Yeah.
Annalisa? And Mr. Jason?
Well, that's just putting pressure on the
Kate, is Katie not here? Michelle is not here. Anthony not here. Buchanan. Buckley.
no, not
Oh, Joseph not here. Oh, I wonder who's online.
No,
No,
no.
not because of the
Send the link.
Really and truly, it's going to
What time do you start?
really and truly, it's going to same class, same body step,
Oh, that's like,
One person on the around on the state.
So for the persons who are online, we are looking at page 26, question number 1. Right, we are going through what the corrections should be for A to F.
Yeah, which one? Which there? And we got it. Credit name. Maybe, Graham. Okay. It's on complete reverse complete.
Is Janoy here? No? Christopher?
This is DLC, this is not DLC, no, this is.
Lloyd?
This is credit of original entry, it's original entry.
Ariana is here. Chanel?
Original entry.
Richard here. Alex not here. Who is this? Kevin?
Yeah. So okay, yeah.
So, Ian is here. Enrique? Anika?
89, entered in 2 places.
Teacher is online.
So different in the correct sections, we could have it.
Peter is here. Alex not here. Sean not here. Lawton?
More than in the more than sell.
Mm.
It's consistent.
Who?
Alex.
Alex?
The first entry.
Alan one.
And debit
Then
card.
about the thing.
What's the first
So
name?
you're right, yeah,
Jody and not here. Tamara is here.
No, purchases. Right, because. Yeah, so the initial purchases was the purchases.
The beginning. Not sure if it. So then,
Purchase of goods and credit.
yeah,
Right.
Annalisa is on here.
That was debit.
Oh, that's you.
Initially.
Mhm. So everybody in here come by the,
Yeah. Right. Purchases was debit. Players was credited.
the result credited.
So you're gonna do purchases first.
Yeah.
Then debit purchases first, and then
Right.
that
Save
$10.
it and credit. Yeah.
And then the same thing.
Each mark on $800 and 30 on the debit side.
And credit side of each We have essentially.
Yes. This is the message from the receiver code. The reverse.
So you don't believe.
Double the figure, right? So then, that's,
Each month I will be debit. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty for patrons, so that was debit.
It would be,
$178.
right. So we put one 70.
178, right?
So if you know the credit side.
Some more credit.
And the first debit, then debit, also, and then debit side.
So the same number of credits. The cash debit.
And then the cash, will be one.
Alright, let's see how far you are. We have only about 5 more minutes. If you're not finished, let's quickly just look at what you have. So you are gonna finish up for homework. Mean that you're gonna put it in the journal and write a narrative and all of that, right?
Yes.
Show the journal entries necessary to correct the following. Purchases of $6.99 on credit from K1 had been entered in H. Wood's account. What kind of error is that?
EOC.
EOC. Error of commission. Okay. So we bought the goods from K1. That means that we were to credit K1, right?
Yes.
But that was not done instead. If they entered it in H. Wood's account, it means that that's the one that they credited.
Right.
So to make our correction, we have to debit H. Wood and credit 1.
Really, sir?
Who we buy from? Who did we buy from? We bought from
We bought from K1. Just entered
in H. Wood. Let me see. Did I say something incorrect? We bought from Wong, right? So therefore, Wong is the account that must be credited.
Initially, it was credited.
No man, his account never have anything in there.
From K1, you know.
We bought from K1, but we entered in H. Wood. So Wong's account did not have anything in there. It was Wood's account that have the credit entry in it.
So we credited them.
So we know these.
So you no need to debit Wood to cancel and then credit the correct account with it, which is K1. So they never brought Wong's account into the picture in the first place.
I see.
You're gonna debit K1. Listen, make sure credit K1. Make sure that whatever was to be done in the first place, that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
If you buy goods, you have to debit purchases and you have to credit 1. Right? We're not care about the purchases.
Oh,
care
so
about
whatever
1.
you were supposed to do initially,
That you must know.
Okay.
So if they never do it before, if If they never did it before, you have to do it now. And if they did something else instead, you need to reverse what they did, right? So what they did in error was that they credited Wood's account. So you need to debit Wood to cancel it out, and then credit one.
Which should have been
Right?
the correct thing.
Which should have been the correct thing to do in the first place. All right, B says, a check of 189 paid for advertisement had been entered in the cash column of the cash book instead of the bank column.
Still EOC, miss.
Still EOC?
Yes.
All right, because we paid for what? We paid,
Cash and bank is the same, what do I call it, classification.
all agree?
Yeah.
Right, I'm glad you recognize cash and bank would have been the same type of account, right? Wrong account, but they are within the same class of account. So the advertisement payment was by check. Therefore, we should have credited our bank. Yeah? But what did they do? They entered in the cash column of the cash book. That means they credited the cash.
Right.
Don't? So to make our correction, did you debit your cash to put back the money in it? Debit your cash, and credit your bank.
That piece of information is that they just gave to say that whenever you're doing the journal, you record it initially as how it's supposed to be done. That now does change everything.
Okay.
In a mind.
Makes it clearer?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So initially, when you paid for the advertisement, you were supposed to have credited the bank, right? They had not credited the bank. In error, they had credited cash, right? So now you have to put back the money into the cash by debiting cash and then credit your bank, which is what you should have done in the first place.
So it's just still
All right. Number C
Correct
says.
everything. Just correct everything.
Sale of 443 on credit to B Ming was entered in B Gordon's account. What is this one? Error of
EOC.
EOC again. Right, error of commission. All right, so in this case now, who did we sell to? Ming, right? And that means that we're supposed to do what with Ming's account?
Ming's account.
You sure? You should have debited Ming's account.
And credit.
You should have debited Ming's account. But listen, instead of debiting Ming's account, we're told that they entered the information in Gordon's account. That means they debited the wrong one. They debited Gordon. So what you need to do now? Credit Gordon and debit Ming.
Never get to
After married,
no, you see, we knew that concept before. Miss how we know some fight.
yes, because Mr. must find the right thing first.
I said it.
Yes, because when you read the sentence, Mr. must find the right thing first and record the right thing. Like, record the right concept. Like, you find the right concept. When you find the right concept for the sentence, you record the right concept. Basically, correctly.
So we sell to Ming, right? So you have to make sure that Ming's account is the account that is debited.
Yes,
So anything that they did, anything that they had debited, you need to cancel it. Yeah. So your credit, your credit Gordon to cancel it, and then debit Ming. All right. Purchase of goods. Did you go this far today?
Yes.
Purchase of goods on credit to Isaacs for 89, entered in the two places at 99. Which one is this? Error of original entry. Right, wrong amount, so it's original entry. How much did we buy the goods for?
It's for 89. So the same on that's going to be double.
Yeah. Really?
No.
Here, put it
I reverse
The difference is going to work out. Correct in my book here.
Usually for original entry, I kind of like when you make the error, So you buy goods from K Isaacs for 89, so you know you're supposed to debit purchases and credit Isaacs, but you did so with 99. Correct double entry, but just the wrong figure. So what you did? Did you credit purchases with 10 and debit Isaacs with 10?
Credit for
Huh?
With $10.
With the $10. Yes.
with $10.
Debit Isaacs with $10 and credit purchases with $10. We don't care about the 99 and the 89, you know, just the $10.
That's critical part.
Hold on. Purchases debited with the 90. Debits.
So can we do a question?
Purchases on credit from Isaacs for 89 was entered in the two places at 99. So the double entry, debit and credit, but I did so with 99. It's supposed to be 89.
Yeah, no.
So the only way to make both of them 89 is to minus $10 by going to the other side of the account. No? Cash paid to H. Marcano for 89 entered on the debit side of the cash book and on the credit side of Marcano's account. Did you recognize this one to be a complete reversal?
Yes. So the person
okay. And the cash was paid to H. Marcano, so we know that we should have credited the cash, right? And debit Marcano.
Yes.
What they did was that they have the entries on the reverse side. So they entered it as if they were receiving cash. Yeah? So put it back on the correct side now. Credit your cash. Credit your cash. Debit Marcano. But make sure it's 89 times 2.
178.
178.
I do that. So get that right. Get that. That's your one that will get
Our next one. A sale of 221 to E. Fitzhenley had been entered in the books, both the debit and credit as 212. Did you recognize this one as another original entry? Original entry. Usually it's better to make the error for these. So we have E. Fitzwilliams and we have sales. Okay? And we are selling goods for 221, which means that we are supposed to credit sales and debit Fitzwilliams, right? We should do so with 221, but we did so instead with 212.
$9 difference.
So it's $9 short,
Yeah.
right? And since it's short, it means that we have to stay on the same side that we are originally on. So we're gonna credit sales with 9 and debit Fitzwilliams with 9. Yeah? All right, so you're gonna finish this up by putting it in the journal. Right now, what you have is just jottings on paper, right? Put it in your journal and write your narrative appropriately. And then you're also gonna do question number 2.
So the journal is necessary correct for people's there is another that's where it is so walking groups
And don't take it
and
out
don't
there,
get
reach
told.
Yahoo.
Please remember that the other bank recon question from the activity booklet is graded work. Our guys have a good week and changing some revision.
Mr. Marcano.
the year calling the that I was telling them saying on the phone.
You need to stop at work on the road with phone, you know, and a phone with the ears.
Not talking to you.
It's like you're thinking for balance.
Put the ball and I'll walk on.
Yeah, but no,
The people that come and then please give it to them.
Check the ball and I'll go with it. See what I'm going to do.
And then
All of the things.